In the tense atmosphere following the unexpected invasion and subsequent stranding of the Zalnaxians, the bustling streets of New York City, now dotted with alien structures, felt eerily quiet. The sudden shift in power dynamics left both humans and aliens in a state of wary coexistence. Dr. Lena Hartman, a prominent environmental scientist, became an unintended bridge between the two worlds. Lena walked briskly towards the community center, her mind racing with the day's agenda. The air was thick with the scent of ozone, a remnant of the alien craft still idling, powerless, on the streets. "Dr. Hartman, a moment, please!" called a voice from behind. Lena turned to see Michaelchen, a former tech executive who now led the Human-Zalnaxian Relations Council. He caught up to her, his face marked with concern. "Michael, what's the situation?" Lena asked, her voice steady despite her rising anxiety. "It's the Zalnaxians, Lena. They're struggling more than we realized. Their physiology isn't suited to our atmosphere long term. We need to expedite the talks. Their patience is wearing thin," Michael explained, his eyes searching hers for understanding. Lena nodded. "I've seen the reports. Without their technology, they're just as vulnerable as we are, maybe more. We need a solution that ensures peace and survival for both sides." "Any progress on the tech recovery?" "Minimal. Whatever that cosmic storm did, it scrambled their systems beyond quick repair. But there's more." Michael paused, his tone lowering. "There's a faction of humans who see this as an opportunity. They're calling for us to take advantage of the situation, to push the Zalnaxians out." Lena's brow furrowed. "And what do you propose?" "We solidify an alliance, publicly. Show both sides that we're better together than apart. You're the key to this, Lena. Your work, your voice, it could unite us." The gravity of her role weighed on her. As they reached the community center, a mixed crowd of anxious humans and stoic Zalnaxians gathered, murmuring amongst themselves. Taking a deep breath, Lena stepped up to the podium, her gaze sweeping over the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, both human and Zalnaxian," Lena began, her voice projecting calm and authority. "We stand at a pivotal moment in our shared history. We face a choice, division or unity, fear or cooperation." A Zalnaxian stepped forward, his translator device buzzing to life. "Dr. Hartman, with respect, our people suffer. We need more than words to sustain us." Lena nodded, acknowledging his point. "And you shall have more than words. I propose a joint initiative to integrate our scientific efforts. Together, we can work on stabilizing the atmospheric conditions for your people, and in return, we gain access to your knowledge of energy efficiency." Whispers filled the air, both skeptical and hopeful. A human woman stood up. "And what of our safety? What if they turn on us?" "Understandably, trust is hard to come by these days," Lena replied. "Which is why we'll establish transparency measures, oversight by both humans and Zalnaxians at every stage of the initiative. We are in this together, and we can only survive together." The room quieted, the weight of her words settling over the crowd. Michael stepped up next to Lena, lending his support. "As a sign of our commitment," Michael added, "we're also initiating cultural exchange programs. We learn about each other, work together, and build a future that values each of us. Imagine what we can achieve with the wisdom of two worlds combined." The Zalnaxian who had spoken earlier nodded slowly, his stance softening. "We will consider this proposal. It is unprecedented." "Yes, it is," Lena agreed, a small smile breaking through her serious demeanor. "And it might just be what saves us all. Let's show the cosmos what humanity and the Zalnaxians can do when we stand united." As the meeting adjourned, groups formed, buzzing with cautious optimism. Lena and Michael exchanged a look of relief mixed with resolve. The road ahead was uncertain and fraught with challenges, but for the first time since the invasion, there was a shimmer of real hope. As the initial shock of the Zalnaxians' sudden dependency on Earth began to settle, the joint task force of human and alien scientists convened in what had been hastily converted into a collaborative lab space. Among them, Dr. Lena Hartman, always a beacon of hope and innovation, spearheaded the initiative with a contagious enthusiasm that began to bridge the divide between distrust and cooperation. Lena circulated among the groups, her presence both a calming and motivating force. "Remember, the solutions we're developing here aren't just about survival," she told a group of young scientists. "They're about building a foundation for a future where we coexist as equals." Her words weren't just rhetoric, they were a necessary affirmation of a shared goal. Among the task force was Threx, a Zalnaxian biologist whose expertise in xenobotany was proving crucial. Threx and Lena often worked side by side, their discussions deep and thoughtful. "This plant you're proposing, Lena?" Threx queried as they examined the genetic sequences. "You believe it can really absorb the toxins affecting us?" Lena nodded, adjusting the microscope. "Yes, and it's more than that. It's designed to thrive in both our atmospheres, acting as a natural purifier. It's groundbreaking, Threx, but it hinges on your insights into Zalnaxian biochemistry." Threx's normally impassive features softened. "Then let us waste no time. My people did not wish for this war, nor this frailty here." Their collaboration highlighted sessions, where shared knowledge flowed freely, breaking down years of misconceptions and hostility. Meanwhile, outside the lab, the world watched, the human populace still divided. Michelchen, now effectively the public face of the Human Zalnaxian Alliance, prepared for a crucial broadcast. Standing in front of cameras, he cleared his throat, aware of the millions of eyes on him. "People of Earth, and our Zalnaxian guests," he began, his voice steady and clear. "Today marks a significant moment in our shared history. Inside our labs, human and Zalnaxian scientists work as one. But this unity can't end there. It must extend into our streets, our homes, our hearts." As Michael spoke, scenes of the joint efforts were displayed behind him, visuals of humans and aliens working together, their actions speaking as loudly as his words. Back in the lab, Lena and Threx had a breakthrough. "We've done it, Lena!" Threx exclaimed, hardly believing the data before him. "The prototype is thriving!" Lena's eyes lit up with joy and relief. "We need to move to field trials immediately. If this works, it could change everything." The next step was crucial. Field trials began in a controlled environment, the bioengineered plants placed in areas most affected by the toxicity. The world held its breath as the plants not only survived but flourished, their alien-like foliage sprouting rapidly. "This is it," Lena whispered to Threx as they observed the plants. "A real chance at healing." But not everyone was swayed. In hidden corners of the city, discontent brewed. A faction of humans, led by a charismatic yet radical leader named Garrick, planned to undermine the project. "They're fooling you!" Garrick rallied his followers in a dimly lit warehouse. "These aliens, they'll turn on us the moment they get their strength back. We must act now, reclaim our planet." Plans were set in motion to destroy the field trials, an act that would not only halt the project but possibly end any hope of peace. The night was dark as Garrick and his group approached the fields, armed with incendiaries. However, Lena and Threx, having anticipated resistance, had implemented security measures. As Garrick's group neared, alarms blared, and within moments, security forces surrounded them. "Stop!" Lena's voice echoed in the night, amplified and authoritative. She stepped forward, flanked by both human and Zalnaxian guards. "This isn't the way, Garrick. Destruction won't reclaim your planet. Only unity can do that." Garrick, caught and desperate, still burned with defiance. "You're a traitor to your kind, Hartman." "No," Lena responded, her gaze unwavering. "I am a defender of our future, our united future. Look around you, Garrick. We are standing together, not as conquerors and the conquered, but as equals and allies." The standoff ended with Garrick's arrest, and the news of the foiled sabotage spread rapidly, igniting debates and discussions across every medium. In homes, in bars, on the streets, people began to reassess their fears and biases. The successful defense of the field trials became a turning point. The plants proved effective, and soon, their deployment began worldwide. As the environment began to heal, so too did the hearts of many, swayed by the undeniable proof of what could be achieved together. Lena, standing beside Threx in a newly flourishing field, looked out over the vibrant expanse. "We've planted more than just flora today," she said, a hopeful smile touching her lips. "We've planted the seeds of a new era." Threx agreed, his voice resonant with the same hope. And as the plants continued to grow, so did the Alliance, a testament to the potential of unity, and the enduring spirit of all who dared to change the narrative from conquest to cooperation. As the weeks progressed, the field trials of the bioengineered plants not only thrived but began to transform the toxic zones into habitable spaces, providing tangible proof of the benefits of human-Zolnaxian cooperation. Yet, despite these successes, the underlying tensions between certain factions remained, threatening to unravel the fragile peace. In a quiet corner of the bustling lab, Lena and Threx reviewed the latest data on the environmental recovery. The results were beyond promising. They were revolutionary. "Look at these figures, Threx. The toxin levels have dropped dramatically where we've introduced the plants. It's working faster than we anticipated," Lena said, unable to keep the excitement from her voice. Threx, typically more reserved, allowed a rare smile to cross his features. "Your enthusiasm is contagious, Dr. Hartman. I must admit, I had doubts about our chances." "And now?" Lena prompted, looking over at him with a raised eyebrow. "Now, I believe this might be the dawn of a new era for us all," Threx replied, his tone reflecting a newfound optimism. However, the success of the initiative sparked envy and fear among those who felt sidelined by the new order. Rumors began to circulate, stoked by the likes of Garrick's remaining followers, suggesting that the Zolnaxians planned to use the environmental recovery as a stepping stone to regain their technological superiority and eventually dominate Earth. One evening, as Lena prepared for a public update on the project's progress, Michael approached her, a serious look on his face. "Lena, we have a problem. There's a significant movement brewing among those who are calling for Earth's reclamation. They're using our success to fuel fear, claiming that we're setting ourselves up for a greater fall." Lena sighed, her hand pausing over her notes. "We always knew this wouldn't be easy. Fear is a powerful motivator. But so is hope. We need to be smarter about how we communicate our wins. That's exactly why I came to you. We're planning a large-scale demonstration. Show the world not just the environmental benefits but also the cultural and social gains from our partnership with the Zolnaxians," Michael explained, his eyes scanning Lena's for approval. Lena nodded, her mind already racing with ideas. "Let's do it. Let's not just tell them, but show them the world we're building." The preparations for the demonstration were meticulous. Lena and Threx worked with teams from various disciplines to set up exhibitions, interactive seminars, and panels that would take place in one of the largest parks in New York City, which had been partially restored by the project. On the day of the demonstration, the park was transformed. Booths displaying hybrid technology, panels discussing human and Zolnaxian culture, and areas showcasing the thriving bioengineered plants lined the walkways. The air buzzed with excitement and curiosity as people from all walks of life and species mingled. Lena took to the stage, her heart pounding with the gravity of the moment. "Today, we stand on common ground," she began, her voice clear and resonant. "Look around you, see the faces both human and Zolnaxian. We share more than just a planet, we share a future." As she spoke, images and videos of the joint efforts and successes were displayed on large screens, capturing moments of cooperation, laughter, and mutual respect. "Let us choose this path, a path of unity and shared prosperity. Let us lead not by the might of our weapons, but by the strength of our joint endeavors." Lena continued, her speech punctuated by nods and murmurs of agreement from the audience. But the day was not without its challenges. Midway through the event, a small group of protesters disrupted the proceedings, chanting and waving signs that read, "Humans first," and "Earth for Earthlings." The situation threatened to escalate as media swarmed to cover the dissent. Lena, undeterred, addressed the crowd once more. "It's okay to be afraid. But it's not okay to let fear blind us to the opportunities before us. These plants, this project, this cooperation, they offer us a way forward, A way to heal not just our environment but our communities. Her words, sincere and impassioned, resonated. The protesters, while not entirely swayed, found themselves outnumbered by those applauding Lena's message. The police gently escorted the dissenters away, and the event continued. As the demonstration drew to a close, the impact was palpable. Social media and news outlets buzzed with positive coverage. Interviews with attendees, both human and Zalnaxian, spoke of a new understanding, and a sense of cautious optimism spread. Lena and Threx, watching the crowd disperse under the setting sun, felt a cautious hope. "We've turned a corner, haven't we?" Lena asked, watching a young human child hand a Zalnaxian a drawing she had made. "We have," Threx agreed. "But the road is long, and there will be more corners to navigate." Lena looked back at the park, the plants glowing softly in the twilight, a symbol of growth and resilience. "Then we'll navigate them together," she said, a firm resolve in her voice. And together they turned back towards the lab, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, fortified by the successes of the day. The night after the demonstration, the city pulsed with energy, split between celebration and uncertainty. Social media flooded with debates, news channels dissected every angle, and the undercurrents of resistance still lingered in the shadows. In a dimly lit office overlooking the skyline, Lena and Michael sifted through reports, exhaustion weighing heavy on them. "We did well today," Michael said, rubbing his temples. "But the pushback is gaining traction. Garrick's people might be fewer, but they're louder than ever." Lena exhaled slowly, scanning a data pad filled with public sentiment analysis. "They feed off fear. We gave people hope today, but fear is a parasite. It'll find another host if we don't keep countering it." Michael leaned forward. "You're thinking of something. We need something bigger. Something undeniable." Lena tapped the table, her mind racing. "The plant project was proof of cooperation, but we need proof of necessity. A scenario where humans and Zalnaxians must work together. Not just coexist, survive together." Michael frowned. "And you have an idea?" Lena hesitated. "I do. But it's risky." A sharp knock on the door interrupted them. Threx entered, his presence as commanding as ever. He held a data slate, his fingers gripping the edges tightly. "Lena, you need to see this." Lena took the slate and scanned the contents. Her stomach twisted. This can't be right." Michael peered over her shoulder. "What the hell are we looking at?" Threx's voice was grave. "A tectonic destabilization beneath the Zalnaxian settlement zones. Your planet's geological activity is unpredictable to us, but according to your records, this fault line has been dormant for centuries." Lena's pulse quickened. "If these readings are correct, the entire sector could collapse." Michael swore under his breath. "How long do we have?" Threx exhaled slowly. "Days. Maybe hours." Lena snapped into motion. "Then we move now." Within an hour, the emergency broadcast system was activated. News anchors delivered urgent updates, city alarms blared, and task forces were mobilized. Despite the political tensions, no one could ignore an impending catastrophe. In the heart of the Zalnaxian settlement, panic rippled through the streets. Without their technology, they had no seismic defenses, no infrastructure capable of withstanding the impending quake. The irony was bitter: they had conquered Earth, yet now they were at its mercy. Lena and Threx arrived at the epicenter, where makeshift refugee camps stretched across the valley. The sight of thousands of displaced Zalnaxians huddled in uncertainty solidified the gravity of the situation. "We need an evacuation plan," Lena announced as she entered the command center, where human and Zalnaxian officials had gathered. One of the human officials, a grizzled veteran named Colonel Riker, folded his arms. "And where exactly do you propose we take them, Doctor? We don't have the space. People are already uneasy about their presence. You want to start shipping them into human cities?" Threx's voice was steady, but there was steel in it. "Would you leave your own people to die, Colonel?" Riker's jaw tightened. "That's not what I'm saying." "Then let's be clear," Lena interjected. We either evacuate them now, or we watch a genocide unfold on live television. Silence filled the room. Michael stepped forward. We have repurposed transport ships. If we start now, we can move a majority of them to safe zones outside the fault line before the quake hits. Riker exhaled through his nose. Fine. But you better pray we don't have riots breaking out over this. Lena didn't have time to argue. She turned to Threx. Your people will listen to you. Help me coordinate this. Threx nodded. We will not let our people, or yours, fall into chaos. As the evacuation began, tensions ran high. Human volunteers guided confused and frightened Zalnaxians onto transports. Protesters gathered outside city checkpoints, shouting slogans, demanding to know why humans were risking their lives for aliens. Security forces held them back, but the pressure was palpable. In the middle of the chaos, Lena spotted a familiar figure, a young human woman arguing with a soldier at the gate. Lena recognized her immediately. Sophia? The woman turned, startled. She was one of the researchers from the plant project, her face streaked with frustration. Dr. Hartman! They won't let my team through. We have medical supplies, they're going to need them. Lena glanced at the guards. Let them pass. We need every resource we can get. The soldier hesitated, then stepped aside. Sophia and her team rushed through, hauling crates of supplies. In the distance, the ground trembled. The first tremor was small, barely noticeable. Then another. A deep, low rumble rolled across the valley. We're out of time, Threx muttered. Lena grabbed her comms. Status report. Michael's voice crackled through. We're at 80% capacity on the transports. Still too many left behind. Lena's mind raced. How many more can we fit if we override safety protocols? Michael hesitated. Lena, we'd be pushing the weight limits. We don't have a choice. Michael swore but relayed the order. The ground split open. A deafening crack tore through the valley. A massive chasm formed near the outskirts of the settlement, swallowing structures whole. Screams rang out as people scrambled to escape. Lena grabbed Threx's arm. We have to move! They rushed towards the remaining evacuees, guiding them onto the overloaded transports. A Zalnaxian mother clutched her 2 children, fear etched into her alien features. Lena reached for her. Come on! The woman hesitated, until Threx extended his hand as well. Then she took it. The final transport lifted off just as the largest shockwave hit. Lena watched from the air as the valley collapsed beneath them, the ground swallowing what was left of the Zalnaxian settlement. Silence filled the cockpit. Threx sat across from Lena, his expression unreadable. If we had waited even a moment longer. Lena exhaled, pressing a hand to her forehead. We didn't. As the transport approached the safe zone, they saw something unexpected. Humans waiting, volunteers setting up shelter, medical stations, food distribution points. Ordinary citizens had come, despite the protests, despite the fear. Michael's voice came over the comms. Looks like people are finally starting to get it. Lena watched as human and Zalnaxian evacuees stepped onto new ground, side by side. The barriers, the distrust, the history, it all seemed smaller now. They are, she murmured. They really are. The safe zone was barely functional, hastily assembled tents and supply crates scattered across the open plains. It wasn't home, not for humans, not for Zalnaxians. But it was life, and that was enough for now. Lena stepped off the transport, exhausted but unwilling to rest. The Zalnaxians who had made it out were dazed, some sitting silently, others tending to the wounded. Human volunteers moved through the camp, distributing supplies, offering quiet reassurances. For the first time since the invasion, there was no line between them. Survival had erased it. Threx approached, his posture rigid, his eyes scanning the area with quiet intensity. We have accounted for most of our people, he reported. But the loss is significant. Lena nodded, her throat tight. We saved as many as we could. And now, we make sure they don't just survive, we make sure they have a future. Michael arrived, tablet in hand, his expression unreadable. There's already pushback. The governors are arguing about long-term solutions. Some want the Zalnaxians integrated into human cities. Others say that's a recipe for disaster. Lena exhaled. And what do you think? Michael hesitated, then met her gaze. I think we can't afford to push them to the edges of society again. If we treat them as outsiders, they'll always be outsiders. We need something permanent. Threx's voice was careful, measured. And how many of your people will accept this idea? Lena didn't hesitate. Enough. Because they saw what happened today. Fear will always have a voice, but after what we just did, hope is louder. A sudden commotion near the perimeter drew their attention. A group of human protesters had gathered beyond the barricades, waving signs, shouting slogans. It had been inevitable. The rescue had saved thousands, but not everyone had welcomed that outcome. Garrick was among them, standing on an overturned crate, his voice carrying over the restless murmurs of the crowd. This is how it starts, he bellowed. First, they need our help. Then, they take our homes, our resources. And when they don't need us anymore, they will turn against us. The fear was palpable, crackling like static in the air. Lena stepped forward before Michael could stop her, pushing past the barricade, walking straight toward Garrick. The protesters fell silent as she approached. Garrick glared at her, eyes full of fire, expecting a fight. She gave him none. You saw what happened, Lena said, her voice calm but unshakable. You saw how close they came to being wiped out. You know they're not invincible. We're in this together now, whether you like it or not. Garrick scoffed. Together? They invaded us. And where has that war left them? Lena countered. Do they look like conquerors to you, Garrick? Do you think they planned for this? She gestured back at the camp, where Zalnaxians, families, children, elders, sat in exhaustion, just trying to stay warm. Look at them. Really look. And tell me they're our enemy. For the first time, Garrick hesitated. His followers shifted, their certainty wavering. They're stranded, Garrick. Just like us, Lena pressed. And if we let them fall, then what does that say about us? About humanity? The silence stretched. Then, Garrick shook his head, stepping down from the crate. He didn't speak again, just turned and walked away. Some of his followers lingered, uncertain, but the momentum was broken. The crowd dispersed. Lena watched them go, exhaling slowly. She turned back to Michael and Threx. We don't have time for this fight, she said. We need to focus on what comes next. Michael studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Then we start rebuilding. Together. Threx inclined his head. Perhaps we have all been conquered in some way. But in that we are equal. Lena glanced toward the horizon, where the sun was just beginning to rise, casting light over the battered camp, over humans and Zalnaxians working side by side. She allowed herself, just for a moment, to believe that they had finally begun to win something far greater than any war. A future.